respond to that issue precludes an appeal to the Land Use Board of Appeals based on that issue. Third, the failure of an applicant to raise constitutional or other issues relating to proposed conditions of approval is specific, with details specific enough to allow the city to respond to the issue, precludes an action for damages in the circuit court. Four, prior to the conclusion of the public hearing, any participant may request an opportunity to present additional evidence, arguments, or testimony regarding the application. If such a request is made, the law states the council must grant the request by either continuing the hearing to a time and date at least 7 days from the date of the initial hearing, or the record must be kept open for a period of at least 7 days. These are the rules. Are there any questions? Okay, so have any members of the council had any ex parte contacts, conflicts of interest, or bias which would prevent you from rendering an impartial decision on this matter, Jesse? Tammy?
It was noted at the last meeting that I might have a conflict of interest, so I'm going to say that I have a water business. I'm a member of the LLC. Our wells do not connect. I do not get any money from ECHO, and we have separate wells. And also it was mentioned that I own property in town. I own a house, I own a couple rentals, and I own Fort Henrietta downtown, which is a commercial business. And I do not believe that those are potential, that those are a conflict of interest. So I'm just making everybody aware of that.
And I answered no to all those, and Richard?
No.
Okay, very well. At this time, does anyone in the audience wish to challenge the qualifications of any member of the council? Okay. So at this time, the public hearing is now open. May we have the staff report?
Well, we haven't had any work been put forth staff, so staff recommended to continue to move forward from the work session, and hopefully this council can dial in on the items that were brought up in the work session, or discuss items in the work session with regards to some verbiage updates, changes to the comprehensive plan. That staff at this time continue to recommend to move forward and approve the development plan as presented, and zoning as amended, and telling like potentially the comprehensive plan is amended. That's all I've got.
Okay, and just to remind everybody, the council had decided to not make any changes to the zoning. So we really don't have anything to discuss there. The zoning is as the.
How about that strip of land by the, were we going to change that?
We decided not to at the last meeting, to just leave the zoning as is. It was brought up, as I remember, and I believe the record will show that we decided to address those zoning issues at a later date on an individual basis instead of as a whole, if the council so desired to do such a thing.
All right.
So good question, though. Thank you. I think that's about it on the staff report. We do have the list of ideas for changes that was talked about at the work session, I believe, right? Okay, very good. And we can get into those later. We won't get into those now after the session. No, Jamie, help us.
Jesse.
Yeah, well. Did you have Valley? Okay, so let's see the end of the staff report. So at this time, does anybody wish to testify in favor of the record? I'd like to remind you that we'll keep things positive and clean and on topic, and your comments will be limited to 5 minutes. So at this time, anybody wish to testify in favor? Yes, Kim. Okay. Yes, Mr. Duffy. Sir.
Mike Duffy, box 127, Echo. And I testified in favor of the poll. With appreciation. I mean, there's been some blood, sweat, and tears, but a lot of work. Really. It's gone in this by a lot. And fortunately, the council seems more than willing to consider and reconsider other aspects of the plan. I think that's healthy too.
Thank you, Michael. Well. Okay, anyone else wish to testify in favor of the application? Okay, very well. Does anyone wish to testify in opposition to the application? Okay. Does anyone wish to testify that is not in favor or in opposition, or would like to ask questions?
That I wanted to read, is that now or?
Yeah, now would be the time. so,
Okay.
For sure. Uh-oh.
Oh, my name is Kim Fife and I live at 301 North DuPont, Echo, Oregon. So I just have some questions on this one because you can't hear me? So I own some houses over on Prescott Street. So this kind of concerns me of the ditch up there. And the way it's worded, that's what kind of, I guess, concerns me because I am worried about the ditches because that's what seems to be the problem over there in my mind. So, but anyway, so goal 7 addresses areas subject to the natural hazards. I don't have my glasses. And focuses on
You don't
planning.
have to read it. You can
Okay.
tell us what you're concerned about.
Well, it's just the way that it's written in here, that the obligations and the limited of going beyond the zoning authorizations to make things clearer. So my thing is that the city's role, this is what I think it should say. This city role is addressing natural hazards and is limited to the land use, planning and zoning, intends to reduce the risk to the life and properties implemented of these measures do not implement the city's responsibility and liability for individual property losses or damages. And so that, I just think that it needs to be looked at better, that's all. So this language keeps the city's responsibility focused on planning and zoning the areas in which can control and ensure the city isn't exposing to limitations and liabilities. I just worry about that over there. It's a big deal when you have houses and I have no flood insurance and I don't want to pay flood insurance. So that's a big deal to me over there, especially off of Prescott. And I don't know, I just might get up. Sunday. Holiday or not? Oh, you got it. I'll give you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Kim. Anyone else wish to testify? Yes. Come on up. We're on the neither for or against or questions.
I just want to say I agree with Kim that four needs to stay in there, but be reworded more clear so the city isn't taking any kind of liability and just all they're doing is, the only thing they're taking liability for is zoning, or taking responsibility for is zoning. And just to reduce the risk of flooding, but it needs to stay in there, the ditch part of it, because flooding has been an issue here. We've done, it's flooded over on that side, plus we've had the road closed going out of town because of the ditch also. So we need the ditch part of it to stay in on both sides. And it was put in there not as a handshake deal. It was a policy written and it just didn't, it might have left the city a little bit liable. So just rewording it would be simple enough to make it good.
Thank you, Gina. Okay, anyone else either for or against or have questions? Okay.
I think my mom wrote a letter.
Oh, yeah, she did. I just want to get through the folks first before I get to the letter. Okay, so I do have a letter here from Jerry Fife that was emailed to the council. I don't know if this was turned into the city reporter. Very good. I'll read the parts, and if it gets off topic, then I'll skip over those parts. But right now it says to the city council, I have not been able to attend recent meetings because my husband is ill, but I have been keeping up and watching the YouTube recordings. I was surprised and disappointed to hear that public dialogue was not allowed at workshops. Workshops are intended to encourage discussion and input from citizens, and limiting that opportunity makes it harder for the community to feel engaged in the process. It gives the impression that the mayor does not want suggestions from the public, and if this approach continues, I am concerned it could create unnecessary challenges for the city later on. I would also like to clarify the history of Goal 7, Policy 4. It has been suggested that this policy may have been the result of a handshake agreement years ago. This is not the case. I served on a committee in the 70s that deliberately zoned the land between the Furnish Ditch and the Beach Canal as permanent open space. This decision was intentional and aligns well with today's Oregon statewide planning Goal 7 to protect life and property from natural disasters and hazards. Policy 4 states to protect the city from possible overflow or damage from the Beach Canal and Furnish Ditch. This was never an informal understanding. It was a carefully considered policy. That said, I understand the concern that its current wording might be interpreted as creating liability for the city. Rather than removing the policy altogether, I recommend revising it in a way that preserves its intent while clarifying the city's role. For example, the land located between the Furnish Ditch and Beach Canal is privately owned. While recognized as an area with scenic wildlife and natural resource value, the city of Echo assumes no ownership, control, or responsibility for its maintenance, operation, or potential hazards. Any risk of flooding, erosion, or damage associated with the ditches or adjoining lands remains the responsibility of the respective ditch companies and property owners. The city's role is limited to land use planning and zoning designation to preserve community character and reduce potential hazard exposure without creating or implying liability for the city. Removing this policy could expose the city to legal risk, especially if the land is ever rezoned and developed. If the ditch is compromised during or after development, the city is open to lawsuits after having acknowledged the hazard potential of development there for 50 years and then suddenly putting people at risk by rezoning. Just to be clear, we're not talking about rezoning. So for the past 5 decades, the zoning has recognized the hazards associated with this area. It would be unwise to change that now, given the concerns already raised by the property owners of the ditch. I encourage each of you as council members to give careful attention to these issues. My experience tells me when longstanding protections are reconsidered and public dialogue is limited, it is time to take a closer look at how decisions are being made. I trust you will continue to act in the best interest of the community. Respectfully, Jerry Fife. And she does state on here, I would like this read as my testimony. So that we can enter into the record. Okay, and then at this time, I don't believe we do have opportunity for rebuttal for those in favor of the application to rebut any argument from the opponents. I don't necessarily think this applies, so we will move on to, I fell. That means, okay, so at this time, the council needs to deliberate and discuss. So some things were brought up at the work session on the comprehensive plan. Some suggestions that we can consider. As far as most of which were wording issues to change from promote or foster to acknowledge in a few areas. You guys all have, remember all of that, okay? I guess that's where we'll start, is with those, because those seem pretty easy. I'll give you my opinion and we'll go around the room. My opinion is that I don't really think it matters much if it's acknowledge or promote or foster or whatever it is, because the rest of the wording is the same. The only concern that I've thought about since the work session is how that might affect us getting potential grants. Like, let's say down the road, for example, we put that we just want to acknowledge the fact that there's different energy sources out there that are available, instead of promote the fact that we'd like to promote alternative energy. If we decided to have an alternative energy source for, say, City Hall, say something out there became cost effective and we put in for a grant for, say, solar panels or geothermal heating, or who knows what it would be that could save us some money, would the grant committee look at that and say, well, they only, and I may be just overthinking this, but are they thinking, well, they're not really wanting to promote this, so why are they asking for a grant? If I'm, sometimes I get to overthink it.
You're overthinking.
Okay. And I can, well, I don't.
If you change the language that the city does not want to be part of an alternative energy, that will shoot you right in the old forehead, but other than
Well, that is
it's
obvious.
potato potato.
Okay, no worries, then don't stress. I just had a thought and thought I better run it by you guys.
Well, I think too, when you're writing grants, so like our comprehensive plan is kind of like big, we're gonna get the development code, so would it be more appropriate to have it worded in the development code? I mean, we're not there now, but let's food for thought for next time.
Yeah, you're right. I think it's a good point. The comprehensive code is that 10,000 foot
Yeah.
level.
The details more in the,
But the detail of it is what you can do and cannot do.
yeah.
It,
So.
I'm overthinking, which is sometimes my downfall. So thank you for you guys' feedback. I didn't run that by my wife first, so that's probably why. No, it's my fault. So, we're not making any decision right now, but a head shake on this. Do you guys want to leave that as proposed to change in the wording, or leave it as written? What do you guys think? Jesse, what are your thoughts?
I don't know. In there, it's sober, long we have it in there.
Jane?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Then and Dave, then we can change that for the final draft. Okay? Under. Okay, so goal 5 is the next one on the list. It was discussed at the meeting to add cultural resources
Oh, like, yeah.
to goal 5, the title of goal 5. And I think that, I thought that was a good idea. It fits well.
Yeah.
Richard, would you like to see? what happened?
I'll find it here.
Okay. Goal 5, the title.
Page 6, right?
Page
On the red line. At the very bottom. Was it top?
Yeah, well, then, go where it says go 5, natural resources, open spaces. Historic area.
Oh, yeah. Mine's, I was for another.
Yeah.
Agricultural land is my top of that page.
Yeah.
Jesse?
Yeah. That cover.
Yeah. Okay. I think the majority would like to add that, Dave, so I think we can move forward with that. Okay. The other one was this under historic areas, which seemed to make sense as well, adding a statement about the National Park Service and how that links to some of the National Historic Oregon Trail sites that we have in the area. Okay. Richard? Jesse?
Okay.
Janie?
Yes.
Okay. And Tammy, I assume.
Yes.
Unless you change your mind.
No. You're allowed to do, so.
Okay. This is still under goal 5. Shall be on page 7. It shall be city policy to identify, we had a bit more discussion on this. As far as wording goes. To identify open spaces. And then it says scenic, cultural, and historic areas and natural resources which should be preserved from urban development. And it was proposed or discussed, I guess, to add in scenic views. To that, and also to add to identify and preserve Echo's rural character and maintain wildlife habitat and connectivity. So, so let's, I guess those are two separate things. So let's tackle the first one first. To identify open spaces, it was proposed to change it to scenic views. I don't know if I would necessarily change it to scenic views, but maybe add scenic views in there and leave the scenic attached to the rest of it. Because you could have a scenic area
Yeah.
may not necessarily be a scenic view.
Yeah. Like, are you talking about you're sitting somewhere and you view it at scenic, or you're in a scenic spot? I don't know.
Right.
And maybe we're just.
That's-
that one too.
I don't know, that's what I would be inclined to leave the views out of it, because I think the scenic implies anything that's scenic.
Yeah, it's your wide range of opinions about it. Oh, somebody might like a hog ranch.
Well, if they want to, they can move to Kuna, Idaho.
There you go.
They have one right in the center. Okay, so Jesse, you agree with that? Janie?
Yes.
Okay. Tim, okay with that?
I'm okay with
Okay.
that, yeah.
Then we'll scratch that off, Dave. The other one that we had quite a bit of discussion, I believe, at the work session was to identify and preserve Echo's rural character and to maintain wildlife habitat and connectivity. There was a lot of discussion on what rural character meant. And I think that's a really hard thing to define. I think town is gonna, I don't know, my thought is that town's gonna be the way town is because of the way town is. It's a rural town and we don't have a lot of room for growth and expansion. We do like our paved streets and our street lights and our sidewalks and things though, and some could say rural means you don't have that. You have gravel roads or you have extra livestock or who knows what. So I'm not necessarily in favor of adding that just because I think it's too broad and opens too many doors. That creates too much confusion.
And then maybe keeping the connecting space around the town in the rural, I mean.
Well, we already have that in our comp plan as far as our urban growth boundary and
Yeah.
things like that are concerned. You know, preserving the farm ground that's around town and whatnot, so. And we stopped the discussion on zoning for the canals or in that area, so that keeps the, you know, people wanted that to stay for wildlife habitat. So,
We get more, little confused on what connectivity means.
yeah, Tammy, you have?
Yeah, I think we should keep the whole thing as it is, to also identify and preserve Echo's rural character, because that's what we have right now. Let's try to keep what we can keep, and let's put it somewhere, because we have very little language about our Echo rural character in the development plan. So at least this is one spot in the comprehensive plan, and to maintain wildlife habitat and connectivity, so that connectivity is to, I'll see if I can explain it, I'm not really good at explaining, is the connectivity of Echo's rural character to the wildlife habitat and to the open space, and keep that a connectivity to our city and to our people. That was what I kind of meant to say. Maybe I should have taken, not said connectivity, maybe said something different. But we need to recognize this in our city, and it's not really recognized, but maybe one other time. And we don't want to lose that charm in our city, and we don't want to lose that connectivity in our city. If we have the open space and we can keep this way, some of it, you know, at some time and times to come, it might change. But now this helps preserve it for what it is, for our little town. So I think we should keep it.
So can I ask you a question?
Yes.
How would you preserve rural character? I mean, I'm not trying to be, I truly want to know what your thoughts are on how would a city go about doing
With private land, that's
Yeah.
my only thought was, do we tell the landowner that they have to provide wildlife habitat? I mean, your thought is good. I'm not
Yeah.
arguing with it all. We have thought, I mean, I totally get what you want. I've heard it 100 times. What I don't understand is how you tell a private landowner that they must do that. That's the hard part.
That doesn't say to tell private.
But the only place that we have the habitat is on private property. That's why I'm just asking that. The only place, because we don't have habitat here downtown. We don't have habitat, and we have habitat along the river, that's all private property. And then along the canals, that's all private property. So that, it's not a good idea. It's not that it's not a good idea or that it's being negative at all, Tammy. I'm simply saying, where do you run into a snafu where you say, property owner A through B, C, D, F, you have to provide wildlife habitat? How do you do that without paying for something or doing something to compensate them for that?
To maintain wildlife habitat is if you go and, I would say if you go and the open space, you can't do much anyway. I mean, I know that you can raise cattle, you can do horses, and that's about it. You can't build.
Except I did talk to ditch companies about that and they're a little nervous about having them on the ditches. So I did talk to both SID and HID
About what?
about having livestock along the ditches.
Along the
They want them away from the ditches, not that they can't be there, but they gotta be out of the 100-foot zone on HID. And SID doesn't want them up where they could put holes where the gophers are at.
So, you know, there's turkeys over.
Yeah,
behind us.
I know, I see them every morning out here, so.
And, I have that property and I would prefer to maintain that wildlife habitat so that everybody can
Okay.
enjoy it.
But
Because
that's your right as a citizen.
Absolutely.
should we say to encourage? Can we just say to?
That would fit a lot better, Tammy. To encourage that with the landowners, so they're not saying thou shalt. We encourage you to continue to provide that for the critters that live on your property.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't say it quite that plain, but that would be less authoritarian and more that you're gonna do that than that, but that way it's fair to all landowners. It's not picking on one or
We
two.
can just stick it on the lines and say, knowledge areas of wildlife habitat.
Or encourage
Right.
and acknowledge.
Well,
We
okay,
could do.
okay, Chad, put over to you.
Yeah, I like that too.
We acknowledge the fact that there are some areas of wildlife habitat around here. And, we can just put that in there, that yes, we take a notice of that. I don't think that's a bad idea. I think that's a better idea than
Not
what's
having it.
written
Yeah.
here.
No, I'm very comfortable if, either with encourage or acknowledge and encourage. Or let's encourage is enough, really, because we don't even have to acknowledge it, we encourage them.
And then I have a question. Because we all know we like that, we want that. And at some point though, I feel like the city, if we want that, the city needs to have ownership in that and buy land. So how do we put that in there where the city's like, okay, the city is striving to make.
That would come in the next phase,
The
when
next
you do your
phase. Development.
environmental and
Okay.
cultural
Like,
project
needs
someday
to-
down the road.
the city
That's
needs
where that would
to
come
be
from.
Thinking ahead and having a process. That's we
Yep.
can't. It's parts come for sale, we can buy those parts.
Right.
We can keep that longer than, private person.
Right.
Because we're kind of in that position now. But, so later down, okay.
Bridget, Jamie? Any thoughts on that?
I don't think any way you say it. Be somebody's opinion.
I like the word acknowledge.
I don't have an opinion on
So why don't we just change that? Then strike all that out. And we'll just make it a very simple statement to acknowledge areas of wildlife habitat.
That sounds good to me.
Yeah.
I think the connectivity, I get what you're saying with connectivity, but I think it'd take about a page to explain it.
To also identify.
Well, with that, we can put that in another
Okay.
statement, but then just that, talking about wildlife habitat and connectivity, let's just change that part of it to acknowledge areas of wildlife habitat. Somewhere.
Well,
Yeah.
could we add acknowledge and encourage? Can we put acknowledge and encourage?
Well, if the council wants to, yeah, I don't.
We could draft it that way, and if it comes back and reads funky, then you guys can make it a final.
We could do that with all the things that we decided to change from encourage to acknowledge, I think. If we're gonna be consistent, let's be consistent.
Yeah, I would acknowledge and encourage if we could, and then if it doesn't work, we'll change it. But I think it will.
Sounds good to me.
Jane,
Yes.
Richard? Okay, so now let's discuss, I've got that there, okay? So the rural character, what, to identify and preserve Echo's rural character. This one hurts my brain. I get it, and I like it, because I like Echo's the way we are and have been, and I like where we're headed. And I think we're all trying to preserve Echo's quaintness the best we can. We are still a city to some extent. But I don't know what,
Well, I'm afraid of with that is that, an example might be the kayak bus system. Cities have bus systems, not rural areas. But I think most people would agree it's nice to have a kayak bus come through. So, you know, are we, does that make it within rural ideas, or are we, should we tell them to forget us?
are we going against our goal or our policy if we allow things that aren't
So the definition of rural is so hard.
right? And that was my point.
Yeah.
But this is just a character. It's not Echoes. I mean, it's just a character. It's not totally rural. It's just a rural character. It's just a little bit of a description of it, just to keep it in there. So.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. Amen. Basically, I would agree with that. I'm just trying to point out that.
Echoes City rural character.
Which one are we on? Which number?
We're on, goal 5, it shall be city policy number 1.
Got it.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think at some point you can put too much stuff in there or it gets too general. Then you get to 100,000 foot level instead of a 10,000. And that's just my
We
opinion.
took a lot of this was down to what, we took a lot of the comprehensive plan. It's like half the size that it was.
Yeah, not necessarily.
It's 29 or 28 pages.
Yeah, and it's still pretty close to that. So,
No,
no, I mean,
it's
that's not what we're discussing right now. We're discussing the rural character. Rich has given his view and I've given mine. Janie, Jesse, and we know yours, and I totally get, it's not that I'm against it. I just think that it potentially opens the door for problems down the road. But I couldn't tell you exactly what that would be because it's so general and vague. So,
I'm just trying to defend it.
no, that's
But
fine.
Echo
You're okay.
City.
Mhm.
But Echo
So
City and
Jesse Jesse, Janie?
I mean, I think either way, I don't really go about it. I don't know that's that big of an issue.
That's
To keep it in or out, I think at the end of the day, it's not gonna make that big difference. In things that we're trying.
Mhm. So you want to add that in?
Yeah, I don't really care.
You don't really
You can
care?
always take it out later if you decide to reword it.
Well, yeah, we can do a comprehensive plan update next month and take it out.
Yeah.
We'd have to go through, I mean, it wouldn't be next month because you gotta go through the whole process.
I agree.
So it sounds like. Okay. Yeah,
And Echo City, Echo City.
City of that.
City of Echo,
Echo
yeah.
City.
It's a rural area.
and you got the typo from the last time on there, right?
From.
Yeah. I had it written down.
Sure I do in the minutes. But it's easier for me to do it in the recording to go back and that's why it takes me 7, 8, 10, 12, 30 hours to do the meeting. So, well, I'm trying to say. It's too much to try to do it another way.
Okay, so the next one was on number 6. And, I don't remember what we
talked about,
taking out the word.
sites that are identified by the state.
Yeah,
I don't know how we.
I don't, yeah, I just have that word as a question mark on it. I think we should just leave it the way it is because there's archaeological sites that will be identified in the future and we do want to protect those. Yeah,
There's already a lot of laws, there's already a ton of laws in place that protect everything
Right.
now.
and anything that's not identified as an archaeological site, is still protected once it gets identified as such. And there's what that gal said, there was several laws and
Lots of
procedures
laws.
to follow on those.
To
So
private landowners
state
and public,
has-
yeah.
That's covered.
Yep.
We don't have much to say.
SHPO controls that, the tribes control that. Federal Fish and Wildlife, federal NIMS, all of them control that. So if you wanna put a septic tank in your property, and you go through the permit process and it's a known site, there's a whole process you have to go through, whether you're private or public,
So
if you go through the process.
my thought is to just leave it as written. That's if you're
Yeah.
concerned about it.
Because you want to protect anything that's identified.
Richard,
What?
you agree with that? Need to identify it in there?
Yeah, that's fine.
Jane,
Yes.
and you good with that?
I'll
Okay.
take that one.
Okay.
Because, I thought it was a better idea, but it's okay.
Okay. Okay, and number 7, to conserve the area's natural resources and actively work with water resource department, Umatilla County neighboring, blah, 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 blah. Wanted to add conserve the area's natural resources.
Original.
What's that, Richard?
It's the original.
Oh, the original. I mean, I thought. I've been listening to this. James, what do you?
Oh, I'd like to have.
Yeah,
like,
I
the
figured,
original,
I assume
yeah,
that you.
To consider.
Okay, so David, we'll add that back in. Okay? Number 7.
That works.
Okay. Number goal 7, this is the one that we had all agreed to take out before, and now it's proposed to put it back in using different language. This is goal 7, number 4. We had originally agreed at a previous hearing, to remove the statement to protect the city from possible overflow from or damage to the feed canal and ditch. We did that at the recommendation of our council and our insurance company. They were under the thought that that would open the city up for liability if there was a ditch breach, and the ditch breach. The ditches are the sole responsibility of the ditch companies and not the city. The city has no say in the ditches. So we all agreed to take that out. I believe that was unanimous at the time.
Nice to revisit with the insurance company and they're staying exactly where they're at. We have no insurance coverage to protect for private property. Especially on something where in a natural disaster, that doesn't count as a natural disaster. I mean, maybe it might qualify under some checkbox for an insurance company, but that's a man-made ditch and man put the water in and man takes the water out. So,
If there was a breach there, it would be the
Ditch companies.
Ditch company's responsible.
yeah, and their insurance, which I know that I talked with them about their breach down in the south end of town last summer, and there was insurance involved in that one on their end of the deal for the private landowner, so.
So,
So I had written something up, but, in reviewing that, mine was kind of wordy to put that floor back in there. I'll read it, but I think maybe I won't even read it, because when I read what even Jerry wrote it better, what Jerry wrote in there was better, that I think it wouldn't harm us to put it back in. It would be a positive thing, and I think the insurance company would go with it. Or we could write what Kim wrote. This is good too, and it's short. Kim seems, Jerry's seem longer. But the city's role in addressing natural hazards is limited to land use planning and zoning intended to reduce risk to life and property. Implementation of these measures does not imply city responsibility or liability for individual property loss or damage. I think that would not,
That sounds better than what
Yeah.
that doesn't sound bad. I mean, I can ask,
Yeah.
I can ask Carla and I can ask the insurance that,
Mhm.
but I don't, that actually sounds halfway decent.
yeah, it sounds more than better than the one that. Well, we have.
Yeah.
The biggest thing is we don't want to say that we're gonna be responsible.
Right,
right,
We can't,
this
Yeah.
is, we are.
we're liable. Well, I know exactly what it says. Yeah, thank you. Yes.
so, go ahead, Jesse.
Well, we need to put some language in regarding because hers talks about natural hazards and stuff, so would we have to put language in regarding the canals?
Yeah, that would be a question that I would have to ask because that's not natural. That's man-made.
So guys, so here, remember, the canals are not the city's responsibility.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's what I'm asking.
and we should, if we were wise, we would steer clear of that from a liability issue. Back in the 70s, liability was different than it is now, right? So, and
But
I
that
would-
statement,
I
that
would-
statement doesn't hit that.
no, I know, and so this is what I'm getting to. I think we should leave the canals out of it and leave a general statement. And possibly, we could ask Carla, but I like, Kim's statement. I do like that. That's much better than I think, and it's more general. And I think it'd be under the findings, the city finds that the city's role in address it is limited to land use planning and zoning. That could fall under there. Wouldn't necessarily be a policy, but it would be under the findings. And maybe Carla will disagree with it because I'm not the land use planner. But as far as the canals are concerned, we're not rezoning the canals.
Yeah.
So all of that development, all of that is a non-issue. So we shouldn't even address it. If we change the zoning, then, or whoever changes the zoning, we'll have to address the liability of that. But I think we should steer clear of it personally. But I think that we should get some advice on this statement.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
I don't think it, on the surface, it doesn't sound bad.
They're the guys that said don't do it, so.
Right.
Can I make a suggestion?
Mhm.
That, Dave takes, Kim's and Jerry's explanation and see which one is the best, that she thinks would fit the best in number 4, because this is my concern. Anytime any of the property owners have the right to have a public hearing, and they have the right to develop their land if they have a public hearing. Well, in a public hearing, if we don't recognize the canals at all, then we won't have the right to say in a conditional use permit that one of the conditions is that they have to work, because we have it in our comprehensive plan, they have to work with the irrigation companies on this issue. Because we have it, it's not, it needs.
Comprehensive plan wouldn't dictate that, Tim.
That'd be development.
It's the policy statement and the general findings. It's where the development code states that, Tim. That's where the development code is.
It should be noted in the comprehensive plan too, because that's our overall.
We already have it. To preserve the land between the Beacon and unfurnished ditch is permanent open space, except for the area adjacent to Lexington and Will. Period. It's already addressed.
Yeah.
The ditches are addressed there. And if somebody wants to develop there, they have to come to the council and has to go through this public hearing process to have their land, their private land,
Yeah, I understand.
to rezone out of this, but our comprehensive plan states that we're going to preserve that. So now we have a conflict between their zoning request and the comprehensive plan. So that's where
So
your.
so what you want, Tammy, is in the development code.
Yeah.
Not
So-
the
Why
comp
don't,
plan.
why don't we, if you don't mind, Dave, if, you know, if this would be too much of, you know, of a job, because I know you're doing a lot of stuff for this, but take it to the insurance and see if it works, one of those statements, Jerry's or Kim's for number 4.
Well, I could
So,
say Kim's is probably gonna fly a lot further,
okay,
so.
see if it works with the insurance company, because they're the ones that would know our liability.
Well, I'm the attorney, but I'm trying to keep the cost down on that a little bit right now. But yeah, I gotta I'll get an opinion, but I know that Carla will also give me her feedback on it as well. So.
And Carla can too, but that would be good for the insurance, because you, that's the way you went to also, just so we're.
So Richard, how do you feel about, having Dave look into that Kim statement? The insurance company and attorney, okay? I'm fine with that. That's it. Jane?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Under goal 8, it was proposed to, under city policy number 2, to add community swimming pool / splash pad. And we could have a list a mile long of wishes. I don't see any harm in adding that to it. What do you guys think? I mean, it'd be lovely to have a pool and a splash pad,
Yeah, it'd be really nice.
water slide.
I don't see it, but I do remember that on my comment that's when they, in the very beginning, they, to maybe the tax dollars, people don't want their tax dollars to go to that, so maybe we should do a survey.
Well, that would be something that.
So,
That would be.
That'd be down the road.
Yeah.
If we-
I'm just saying, yeah.
If we had the money, then we would go and say, hey, we wanna take maybe that park ground that we got.
Yeah.
From Kyle and put something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe we might even put a soccer field in there, who knows what.
Yeah,
whatever-
I'm all for
what
it,
the
but I just
community
bring
wants.
that person.
I mean, this doesn't mean we're gonna do that, or it doesn't
Yeah.
say we have to do that. But if the community wants a 20-yard holes, then or shoot pits, or whatever, we'll put that in instead.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if it necessarily needs to be in there, but it doesn't hurt it. You know, I mean, we can put anything we want in our,
Yeah.
for recreation, whatever the community wants. Anybody care if that stays in
I
there?
don't know.
No? Okay. We did have some discussion on number 7, page 12. Might be goal, talks about manufactured homes. To support the development of manufactured homes and manufactured home parks in appropriate locations in order to fulfill the need. There was.
Sorry, where were you?
I'm on page 12, number 7 on my sheet. I don't know what goal it is.
I need to know what you're talking about. I know what you're talking about. Record it.
Under goal 10 is how,
How's it, goal 10?
Goal 7, I mean, number 7, but isn't Jay's, what, it's under.
I don't think that we came up with anything that was, there was some discussion on mobile home parks, but we all decided we knew what a mobile home park was and that they fall under the development code and they are under the.
Yeah, and the manufactured home parks and things like that, and the developer that, just off topic, but just so you know, the developer that turned in his application, I have an application in my office for the Hatley project, and they don't want a park, they just want, they're just putting up manufactured homes on 8,000 square foot lots, no parking, they want no part of the park, they want to sell lots, so.
I'd say we leave this.
Yeah, that fair housing act that we have to.
Yes, yes, we do,
I mean,
Just leave it the way.
but that's in the development code, that's not in here.
I would prefer to take them out. Not that it can't be done, but I got to support it, to make it, you know, we support.
I don't know that you can, I mean, I guess you could take it out, Tammy, I don't know if it would be a red flag, but I could ask.
Yeah, nothing manufactured homes.
Let's see what it- Jamie?
That's,
Fine with-
just so you know, that manufactured home parks are an allowed housing type under this other housing act. So if for the city to deny that or have it in policy to deny it, Tammy, could put you in trouble. That doesn't mean that you're gonna have one, and it's Echo, I don't see that happening, but.
I don't think deny it, I just say don't support, you know, we just don't. Cause we just.
Well, I guess I could ask that question, but I think that's the same as.
Well, we've got Richard against that, Jesse's against it, Jamie, you wanna just leave it in there? Richard and Jesse are for.
Just consider.
Uh,
Is it?
Well, I think it's actually a DLCD question. I think it's a state.
I say, I,
Acknowledge there and then consider to support, acknowledge the development of manufactured.
we could just change all the words to acknowledge.
Well, that one maybe you should, to acknowledge the.
I say, we've got three people that wanna leave it as is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
And then on number 13, there was a typo on above. It just says ABO, there's no VE. Just, well, somebody reads this 40 years down the road. What were those people? Wasn't there a school teacher on? Now we're on to page 15,
Yeah, and it's.
and I don't know what goal
there are
that is.
typos too.
Okay, goal 11, page 15, number 10. There is two typos.
Let's clear over on page 7.
When we get the final product, we'll
Streets.
we'll clean up any of the.
Well, I just figured I'd put it on here so that you have it. and-
We were aware.
Okay, then I'm skipping it.
But thank you.
Sorry, Dave, I'm just trying to. Shoot me later, it's all right. Just don't do it on camera. Goal 13, energy conservation, we discussed changing, city policy number 6 from encourage to acknowledge. Instead of encouraging the use of solar, wind, and other renewable energy technologies, we just want to acknowledge the use of solar, wind, and other renewable technologies.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go. Remove it. So that takes care of the comprehensive.
Oh, wait, no.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Okay, so on page 4, goal 1, number 7. No,
The 2.7?
that would be I guess number 8.
No,
Or to add, did we add that as a number 8 or did we add just?
I just made it as another one, just to add something more than just the webpage. And to put city notification on the back of the bill letter, also on paper for people that aren't easily able to access the webpage, Echo webpage. It would be on the back of their bill, the meeting, so they can see the schedule.
Website email.
Or continue each order in paper. But I think it would be enough actually just to put the city notification letter on the back of the bill paper too, as an extra notification for people.
What if
Because
you
everybody's
just put,
bill.
what if you did something like this? Just to be simple, to utilize technology to facilitate distribution and sharing of the city's, through the city's, website, mailings, emailings, public notices, staff reports, and the potential of future technologies to notify citizens.
Well, that's fine, but I didn't really hear that it's a paper, and we already have everything else listed on the back of that bill, so.
Well, no, that's what I mean, in
They usually put
actual
the name.
mailings are,
Yeah,
when the city
yeah.
mails
But
things.
a notice for a public hearing, you could just, it would be no different than city council meeting at 6 o'clock, because the notice has to go through a proper legal process. It can't be, and it would be in the newspaper, which when this hearing started 6 months ago, was in the newspaper.
I'm just saying, instead of being so specific as to mention the actual.
But it's
bill,
$1,000 a pop.
we just say city mailings, because then we could. either-
So you wanna make those very strategic.
Yeah, so city meetings, yes.
Okay,
Is
perfect.
that okay with you, Dave, on the back of that calendar then?
Sure. I mean, I'll talk about it with Carla, but that would be more of an operational policy than a goal, but that, yeah, yeah.
So we'll, Jesse, are you cool with just adding city mailings to the list? Richard? Okay, so there you go. That was easy. I didn't even look at that, I just like. Thank you. Okay, so that is all the discussion on that. You've got some changes to make and one thing to bring back to us. Is there any other discussion from the council? I mean, I guess we have one thing we're waiting to hear back from. And so we can't really make a decision until we hear back on that.
We can get it done and bring it back as proposed, and then we can make a modification at the next hearing.
The next hearing, right? So do we wanna, when do we wanna have the next hearing to discuss that? Things back, and then hopefully we can vote to be done. with this. Yeah. And the, well,
How much time?
we
is it
got
gonna
the zoning.
take?
You wanna discuss, do you guys have anything to discuss on development code?
Yeah, we want workshops on development.
Um,
That's what we talked about, that we could do workshops,
Do
because
a
we need to
workshop.
go through all we did.
Okay. So then.
First week of December would be a good week for that.
Okay, so let's, Maria's back. November 5th, right?
I'll be gone the whole weekend. This week,
And then
I'll be here, but we were in the.
what is your schedule look like, Dave?
I had a trip planned
In November.
for 8 months, long before I was gonna leave.
I know,
the
but
job,
what-
so
what are
I'm
those
leaving
dates?
November 5th. I'm leaving the area November 5th, and we'll be back till the 17th. So. I'm not-
2 weeks of November.
So
Yep.
what about doing it sometime the week before Thanksgiving after Dave comes back?
We have our council meeting on the 18th, which
Okay.
I'm trying to get prepared for now.
Okay.
On November 18th.
That's our next council meeting. You voted that in. That was because November 11th is Veterans Day and November 4th is voting day, election day.
What do you guys think about Thursday, November 20th?
For what?
Work session.
Well,
For the development?
yeah, I don't know. We could have a work session.
Do a work
Yeah.
session there, and then if you want to combine your public hearing, if you have a work session, and if you guys come to some semblance of what you want to move forward with and bring it to a hearing, then you can combine the hearings, have the development code that we just talked about tonight drafted, and then and give us a few weeks and we could draft up. No, we can't draft anything out of a work session, so then we would be able to have a work set and then have a hearing in this early December, and then you guys could have a work session and then another hearing, and then that hearing.
We're gonna need 2 workshops for the development, of course, there's 5.
You may or may not. I mean, that's.
Well, the first couple of chapters are just definitions, Tammy, so I don't know.
We still need to go through the whole, I mean, we need to read, we need to read the chapters, all of the shit.
Well, I've already read it.
Well, I have 2 this time. Numerous times.
So then why do we need, I guess my question is, if the council has read them, you had like 6 months to read them, so I'm not sure that's where we're miscommunicating, Tammy, sorry.
Yeah, I think that the developmental code will take more time, and so I would like to plan for 2 workshops. If we don't need it, then fine. But if we need it, we should have the time, because there's a lot to go through. A lot to read.
You know, we should have, this is what's frustrating folks. And we heard some of that frustration in the last council meeting, is that the council's not doing their work. If you've had issues, if all of you, and I'm speaking to all of you, not just Tammy. If you guys have had issues with the development code, you should have been bringing those issues to this meeting. I mean, we've been asking the public to bring issues with zoning, the comprehensive plan, and the development code to every single meeting. And they've been doing that. Why can't we do that? The public seems to get it.
I did bring some.
We can have a hearing to discuss those.
So, you know,
Yeah,
but-
we can.
We got tied up in the zoning quite a bit, Tammy, so.
Yeah, so we did. So give us some time to go through the development code, please.
Well, we can go through some of it tonight if you'd like. We don't have to, but you can. Okay,
I mean, and it's not on the agenda.
yeah, I mean, we've been going 6 months at least.
Um,
People are waiting
can
for
we
us
not
to actually,
just-
let's schedule a work session and see how it goes, but we do need to schedule the next.
We also,
Public hearing.
we have to schedule another hearing tonight, even if you just have it and then you postpone it, move forward, Tammy.
So.
I mean, that's how you keep the hearings process going, just like we said every time. It doesn't mean that you even have to have a hearing. You show up and you say we need to move the hearing out again, then you have a motion to move it forward and do that process if that's what you want to do. I wouldn't recommend it, but that's what you can do. So as long as you keep it going, then you preserve that. You don't have to renotice and go through the whole
We
time.
can hear the folks give their testimony, and then when we get to discussion, we just say, hey, we heard their testimony, we want to think about it, let's schedule the next meeting for the next time. Spend hours and hours on it. We don't have to do that. But we have to schedule another meeting, and I'm looking at the schedule and trying to figure out Dave's schedule and when we can, you know, we've got Thanksgiving week, which we don't want to have a public hearing during Thanksgiving week because that's not conducive to having public involvement.
I think we should do the public hearing sometime in December.
Yeah.
Either the-
Yeah, I agree.
you know,
I agree with you totally.
second-
So Jesse, you're gone the first week of December, is that correct?
When we have city council on the 9th, we could do it on the 11th.
I'm here, but it's ballet every night, I'm ballet, from like
Till
3
6
in the
a.m.
afternoon until like 10 o'clock at night.
Oh, jeez.
There's a lot of people in ballet.
We're gonna switch.
I had to get-
Okay, so the council meeting's on the 9th of December, so we could schedule a public hearing from Monday to 8 or even Wednesday or Thursday. I can switch my work
No,
schedule.
it'll go later in December. Because let's make 2 work sessions that we have. If we need it, if we don't, we'll drop one.
Well, we can add a work session the first week of December, just Jesse may not be able to make it. If she can't, then let's see how the first work session goes. We did a good job of the last work session.
Yeah, but let's move it to the second.
That's what I just proposed.
The second week is the 9th.
Yeah.
9th, 10th, 11th.
I say the 11th.
December 9th, oh, and then
December 9th is our regular council meeting.
Richard, you want to make a motion to that? I'll entertain a motion.
Council 9 is our,
I misspoke, I meant the 11th.
Yeah.
To, resume the public hearing on December 11th at 6 p.m. at City Hall.
So
I'll second.
Okay, so Richard made a motion to, have the next public hearing, to extend the public hearing to December 11th at 6 p.m. at City Hall. Jesse has seconded. Jesse, your vote?
Yes.
Richard, your vote? Janie, your vote?
Yes.
Tammy, your vote?
yes.
Motion carries.
So
All
can
right, and then we will schedule a work session.
That you, and make sure that we is back. So.
Yeah, it'll be after we're back and after Dave's.
Schedule a second, we just-
So, hang on just a second. So the meeting's adjourned. Thank you all for showing up and, look forward to seeing
we
you
can
again.
schedule a workshop later.
Oh,
Sure, hang tight for just a second, Gina, and we'll get with you here after. I
Dave,
talk
are you
to-
driving tonight?
Possibly.
You are,
I haven't quite decided yet. Come on. Oh.